Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Softening into Momentum. I'm Miki, and as we move deeper into this season, both the season of this podcast and the season of the year, I want to talk about something that has quite literally saved my life: community. We're approaching the holidays, which for many of us means family gatherings, social expectations, and the complex navigation of showing up authentically in spaces that don't always feel safe. It's a time when we're reminded both how much we need genuine connection and how rare it actually is. Today, we're exploring Sangha, the Buddhist concept of spiritual community, and what it means to find your people in a world that often asks you to perform rather than belong. We cannot heal in isolation. We cannot grow alone. We need witnesses to our becoming. We need people who see us, hold us, and remind us who we are when we forget. So take a breath with me as we explore what it means to find and be true community. In Buddhism, Sangha is considered one of the three jewels, along with the Buddha, awakening, and the Dharma, the teachings. It's not an optional add-on to spiritual practice. It's essential. It's the container that holds us while we transform. The traditional definition of Sangha refers to the monastic community of Buddhist practitioners, but in our modern context, I think of Sangha as the people who make you feel safe enough to be fully yourself. The ones who witness your mess and don't flinch. The ones who celebrate your growth and sit with you in your grief. The ones who remind you of your truth when you've lost the thread. I did not understand the necessity of Sangha until I got sober. In my drinking years, I thought I had community. I had people I partied with, people I performed for, people who liked the version of me that showed up with booze in hand and walls firmly in place. But when I stopped drinking, most of those connections dissolved because they weren't built on genuine knowing. They were built on shared numbing. Early sobriety was the loneliest time of my life. I was doing the hardest thing I'd ever done, and I was doing it mostly alone. I'd go to the recovery meetings and feel like an outsider. I'd scroll through social media and see everyone else's lives continuing as normal, while mine felt like it was falling apart and also being rebuilt simultaneously. And then I found my people. Not all at once, not in one place, but gradually, like finding puzzle pieces scattered across different rooms. Some I met in recovery spaces. Some I found online, in forums and groups where people spoke openly about the messy reality of healing. Some were old friends and family who showed up differently when I started showing up differently. Some were complete strangers who became chosen family because they saw me and said, "Yes, you belong here." What made them Sangha wasn't that we all had the same story or the same beliefs. It was that they created space for me to be authentic. They didn't need me to have it all figured out. They didn't require me to be inspiring or healed or perfect. They just needed me to be honest. I remember the first time that I ugly cried in front of my recovery community, like full body sobbing, snotty-nosed, barely coherent vulnerability. I was terrified they'd think I was too much, too broken, not doing recovery right. But instead, someone handed me virtual tissues. And they said, "Thank you for being real with us. This is what we're here for." That moment changed something in me. I realized I'd been carrying the belief that I had to earn belonging through performance, through being impressive or helpful or put together. But true Sangha doesn't work like that. True Sangha says you belong because you're here. Your presence is the only qualification. This is especially crucial as we move toward the holiday season. Many of us will be gathering with biological family, people who may love us and don't always understand us, who may have known us our whole lives but don't see who we're becoming, who may trigger old patterns that we've worked really hard to heal. And that's where chosen Sangha becomes essential. These are the people you can text when you're in your childhood bedroom feeling like you're regressing. The ones you can call when you need to remember that your sobriety matters more than anyone else's comfort. The ones who will remind you that you don't have to shrink to fit into spaces that were never designed to hold your fullness. Here's something I've been thinking about a lot. There's a difference between belonging and fitting in. Fitting in requires conformity. It asks you to sand down your edges, hide your differences, perform acceptably. Fitting in says you can be here if you become what we need you to be. But belonging says you can be here just as you are. In our modern world, we're drowning in opportunities to fit in and starving for places to belong. Social media creates the illusion of connection while often reinforcing performative conformity. We curate ourselves into digestible versions. We present the highlight reel. We perform belonging while feeling increasingly isolated. But true Sangha, true community, requires something different. It requires vulnerability. It requires the courage to show up unedited. It requires the willingness to be seen in your humanness, not just your highlights. I've found this particularly true in recovery communities. There's something profoundly healing about sitting in a room or in an online space with people who get it, who understand the specific hell of early sobriety, who know what it's like to navigate a world built around drinking when you're learning to live without it, who won't judge you for struggling because they've struggled too. This is the power of shared experience. Not that we all have identical stories, but that we recognize ourselves in each other's struggles and triumphs. But here's where it gets nuanced. Even within recovery communities, even within spaces that feel like home, we can fall into the trap of conformity. We can start performing good recovery instead of honest recovery. We can hide our doubts, our cravings, our messy humanity because we want to be the success story, the inspiration, the one who's got it all figured out. And when we do that, we lose the very thing that makes Sangha healing, the authenticity that creates space for others to be authentic too. I've learned to look for communities that celebrate questions as much as the answers, that honor the journey more than the destination, that make space for doubt, for struggle, for the non-linear reality of growth. These communities do exist, but they require intention to find. Sometimes they're in person, recovery meetings, spiritual groups, creativity circles, support spaces. Sometimes they're online, forums, Discord servers, Patreon communities where people show up with both their brilliance and their brokenness. Sometimes they're just a group chat with 3 people in it who truly see you. The size doesn't matter. What matters is the quality of presence, the permission to be fully human, the understanding that we're all works in progress. As we move into the holiday season, I want you to think about your own Sangha. Who are the people who make you feel safe enough to be yourself? Where are the spaces that don't require you to perform? Who witnesses your becoming without needing you to be finished? And just as importantly, are you creating that kind of space for others? Are you being the kind of community member that makes belonging possible? Are you offering others the gift of being seen without being fixed? Because Sangha isn't just about receiving support, it's about offering it. It's about being the person who says, "You belong here," to someone who's wondering if they do. The practice we're exploring today is a visualization of being held by community. Even if you are physically alone right now, this practice helps you connect to the felt sense of belonging, of being witnessed, of being supported. So find a comfortable position where you feel both grounded and open. Allow your eyes to close if that feels safe. Let's take 3 deep breaths, arriving into this moment. Breathing in and breathing out. Again, inhaling and releasing. Once more, breathing in and letting go. Allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm. And now imagine yourself sitting in the center of a circle. You're comfortable here, maybe sitting on a cushion or in a chair or on the ground. however you are most at ease. Around you, forming a circle, are the people who truly see you, your Sangha. Maybe these are people you know in physical life, your friends, family members, community, online connections. They might even be people who have passed on, but whose love still holds you. Maybe they're teachers or ancestors, guides who represent unconditional support. Don't worry about getting it perfect. Just invite whoever comes to mind. Let the circle form naturally. Take a moment to look around this circle. Notice who's here. Notice the feeling of being surrounded by people who understand you, who accept you, who celebrate your authenticity. These are the people who don't need you to be perfect, who don't need you to have it all figured out, who love you, not despite your humanity, but because of it. Now imagine that each person in this circle is holding a thread. And all of these threads connect to your heart. Not pulling or demanding, but they're just connecting. You can feel the subtle presence of each thread, each connection, reminding you that you're not alone. Breathe into this felt sense of being held by community, being woven into a web of belonging. As you sit in the center of this circle, imagine that you have something you need to express. Maybe it's a fear you've been carrying. Maybe it's grief. Maybe it's joy that feels too big to hold alone. Imagine yourself speaking this thing out loud to the circle. You don't have to have the perfect words, just honest ones. And as you speak, even if it's just in your imagination, notice how the circle receives your truth. No one interrupts. No one tries to fix you. No one judges. They just witness. They just hold space. They say with their presence, "We see you. We're here." Feel what it's like to be fully received. This is the gift of Sangha. This is what true community offers. Now, notice if there's anyone in the circle who needs to speak, who needs to be witnessed by you. Maybe you can sense that someone is struggling, they're carrying something heavy, wondering if they belong. Imagine yourself turning toward them with the same quality of presence you just received. No advice. No fixing. Just the generous offer of your attention and acceptance. A reminder that they belong here too. This is the reciprocal nature of Sangha. We hold each other. We witness each other. We create belonging by offering it. As we prepare to close this practice, take a moment to feel gratitude for this circle, for the people who show up for you, for the connections that hold you, for the gift of belonging. And feel gratitude for yourself, for showing up, for being willing to be seen, for having the courage to need community in a culture that celebrates independence. Take one final deep breath in as you breathe in the Sangha and release. When you're ready, imagine the circle gently dissolving, but know that the threads remain. The connections remain. Your people remain, even when they're not physically present. Gently wiggle your fingers and toes and return to the space around you. As we head into the holiday season, I want you to know you are not alone in feeling alone. So many of us struggle with the gap between what connection is supposed to look like and what it actually feels like. We sit at holiday tables surrounded by family and feel profoundly isolated. We scroll through images of other people's perfect gatherings and wonder why we can't seem to create that. We show up to spaces that should feel like home and then leave feeling more disconnected than when we arrive. This is not a personal failure. This is the reality of living in a culture that has confused proximity with intimacy, confused fitting in with belonging, confused being seen with being known. Finding true Sangha, the kind of community that actually nourishes you, that requires intention and a willingness to be vulnerable. It requires showing up authentically, even when it's scary. And it requires giving others permission to do the same. Since starting this podcast, I've been overwhelmed by the Sangha that we're creating together. The messages that you send, the ways you're showing up for each other in the comments and in the online spaces, the vulnerability that you're bringing to these practices, the way that you're reminding each other you belong here. Your struggle is valid. Your healing matters. This is what Sangha looks like in today's world. It's not always sitting in circles in person. Sometimes it's a voice in your earbuds, reminding you that you're not alone. Sometimes it's a stranger's comment on the internet that makes you feel seen. Sometimes it's knowing that thousands of people are practicing these same meditations, breathing these same breaths, working toward the same softening. We're in this together. And that's not just a nice sentiment, it's a practical truth. Your healing impacts my healing. My vulnerability gives you permission for yours. Our collective commitment to authenticity creates more space for all of us to belong. So as you navigate this holiday season, I invite you to be intentional about your Sangha. Reach out to the people who make you feel safe. Create boundaries with the people who don't. Find online communities where you can be honest about the hard parts. Show up for the gatherings that nourish you, and give yourself permission to skip the ones that deplete you. And remember, you don't have to do any of it perfectly. You don't have to be the perfect family member or friend or community participant. You just have to be honest. You just have to show up as you are. You just have to trust that your authentic presence is the greatest gift that you can offer. Your Sangha, whether it's 2 people or 200, is waiting for the real you. The real, messy, becoming you. That's who we're here for. That's who we want to witness. That's who belongs. Thank you for being a part of this Sangha, for showing up week after week, for trusting me with your time and attention, for being willing to soften and grow and become together. The Softening into Momentum podcast is lovingly curated, created, written, recorded, and produced by me, Miki Byrne, with accompanying sound bath frequencies by my good friend and Sangha member, Static. If you would like to dive deeper into his incredible musical work, please go to YouTube at Static is Noise. If this episode touched you, please share it with someone who needs to be reminded that they're not alone. And remember to join us in my Meta Momentum Patreon community, where we're actively building Sangha together, where you can be witnessed, held, and celebrated exactly as you are. A reminder, you can also find me each week in my newsletter, Softening into Momentum, where I continue these conversations about belonging, community, and what it means to find your people. Until we meet again, keep reaching for connection, keep offering authenticity, and keep trusting that you belong. You are not alone. You never were. Happy holidays and namaste.